As a runner, lifter, and soccer player, I've had my fair share of injuries, but 4 months ago, I got a knee injury that sidelined me for a month. But now I'm back to all three of those training modes and at a high level. So you might be wondering, how did I bounce back so quick to the point where I'm running 50 miles per week on top of lifting and collegiate soccer? And I know a month isn't a long time to not be able to train, but for someone who normally trains 2 to 3 times a day and was just coming off of a big half marathon PR, this greatly changed my life. Now, before I get into how I returned to high mileage and all of this training, and really just what I learned from this experience, I want to talk about the injury itself, because it's important to note that I had this same injury almost exactly 1 year before. And around the same time of late November, early December. And maybe it has something to do that snow was just starting to get on the ground at this time of year, and it's just a lot colder than what it would have normally been. You know, at the start of November to the end of November, it's a big change in weather and temperature. So maybe that has something to do with it, but that's beside the point. And the weeks leading up to the final straw was just the knee was starting to hurt after every single run, and during the run, and then the week before, after each run, I would have kind of like this limp because it hurt so bad, but that limp would fade away throughout the day and it would be fine. Before I started my run the next day, it would feel normal, and obviously it would hurt again during the run, but just this cycle of it would be fine, hurt during the run, limp after the run, but by the time I started the next run, it was fine again. And stubborn me was like, oh, that's fine. It's normal. I'm still going to train. Obviously, that's not normal, but... And then, after about a week of that, I went for just another run. It was midweek, and I started the run, and I got not even 100 feet, and I was like, the pain is too much. Like I can't run like this. I was trying to run and just limping because the pain was so bad, and that's where like the last straw was. It was just I pushed it so much I could have stopped, weeks before when it started hurting, but I just wanted to keep training because, like I said earlier, I just was coming off of a half marathon PR, and I set these goals already right away, and I was like, these are my next goals. Let's immediately start training for them. So I was set on doing those things, and after this happened, and I realized I wouldn't be able to run for some time, and eventually I would know that it would be for a month. It just left me angry because I had the same thing the year before, and now this time it seemed worse, and it was worse. And it was, like I said, it was just mad at myself because I didn't learn my lesson. If I just would have learned my lesson, this wouldn't have happened again. With that context about the injury out of the way, and really just how I was kind of angry about my decisions that led to the injury, it kind of sets up perfectly what I'm going to talk about in a minute about what I learned and really what started to change in my head based off of that anger. But first, a few things that I learned just from, the stillness of not being able to train for a month, which was just the importance of daily mobility. Immediately, I started doing daily mobility, and more than once a day sometimes, just because it made me realize that mobility is a part of your training. It should be a part of your training, and not just something that you should be doing. No, you should be doing it. Just as you schedule to go for a run or go lift, you should be scheduling 15 minutes is all you need. Just schedule a mobility session. And that's the first thing that I learned, and that I've been implementing since, even now that I've been working back into training, which it's even more important now that I'm back into training. And the second thing that I learned of just not being able to train for a month, and it's less of what I learned, but just what changed in my life, is that I spent a lot more time on other parts of my life. It really showed me, oh, maybe it's a sign that I needed to focus on other things, because and this was the same time that college final season was starting, and I needed to focus on my schooling a little bit more. And not being able to train, I mean, I guess it helped with that. That's not how I saw it at the moment, in the moment when it happened and when I wasn't able to train, but it was very important. And just really just spending more time on other parts of my life that I enjoy. Obviously I enjoy training. I love doing that, but being able to do other things in my life that I also enjoy, was not training freed up the time for me to do that, and that was good. And now into like the real things that changed with my mindset mainly. And it, like I kind of said earlier, is it kind of started because of the anger that I had. And during this month, I could not stop thinking about training and just the goals that I had set for myself. And it was just this fixation of, I need to get back into training. Obviously, I didn't want to rush my rehab, but it's just like, that's all I could think about. And it was just such a big change for me, because before this injury, it was like I had this separation of, all right, I'm training and now I'm not training. And I wasn't really thinking about it. But since I've gotten injured, like, because like even now it's still kind of this way. It's like I train and then I'm not training, but I'm thinking about tomorrow's training run. And even I get to the point where sometimes while during a training run, I'm thinking about tomorrow's training run. I don't let it affect my performance. I still, do the training run to the standards that I have. But it's like I'm already thinking about the next session, because I'm just so focused on my goals now. Everything I do in my life has to revolve around my training, my nutrition, what do I need to do to reach my goals? And that plays into the fact that I'm so focused on making sure I'm doing my mobility so I don't get injured again. Now to get into how I really made my return so quick after this injury. And the first thing I actually just finished talking about, which is daily mobility sessions. It's non-negotiable for me. Keeps me from getting injured again, and just keeps my legs healthy so I can perform every run at my fullest potential. But that leads into the next thing of just having smarter warm-ups and cooldowns, which the cooldowns part, I never used to do cooldowns after my runs. And it showed, because I would get done with a run and then I would just go on with my life. And it was like, well, your legs are now just super tight, and you're going to notice that while you feel it throughout the day and also before your next run. So just having proper warm-ups and cooldowns, stretching before and after, and then for the warm-up, also getting your heart rate warmed up, get that heart rate going a little bit so your heart rate doesn't spike right at the start of your workout, because that's very harmful to your runs, especially when you're doing an easy run and you're trying to keep your heart rate low, then it just spikes right at the start because you didn't do a warm-up. Well, that kind of messes up the run a little bit at the start. But the next thing is the most important thing that has helped me get to the mileage that I'm at, and that is just gradual mileage buildup. It's very simple, and everyone does it their own way. Everyone talks about it for the most part, progressive overload, and some say increase by 10% every week, and it works. I mean, it's good until you're running high mileage, and 10% is an extra 5 miles, an extra 8 miles, whatever your mileage is. The higher you get, the 10% rule gets a little too much of an increase per week. So what I've been doing is every week increase by 3 miles every week. I should say that is now that I'm running 6 days a week again. But before I was running 6 days a week, I was increasing by 1 extra run each week. So I started with 1 run a week, 2 runs a week, 3 runs a week, starting from obviously 0 back to 6 miles a week. And that actually right there, the not jumping back into 6 days a week of running, starting slow and not a lot of runs at the start for the first month, but I built up and now I've strong legs again, and I didn't get re-injured, of course, and it's just so important those 3 things are so important to not getting re-injured and just having the best runs possible every single day and every single week so I can accomplish my goals. And if you adopt these things, for you to accomplish your goals. With the what's and the how's out of the way, I just wanted to note that because of this experience, I am much more conscious about the signals that my body give. And the biggest example of this is if my knee starts flaring up and kind of like having some pain, just very low amounts of pain, I will make a change to my week, to my training, and no, I won't skip a workout. I still see it as skipping a workout. I'm stubborn that way, but what I will do is if it's right at the start of the week, it all depends on when in the week it starts, but most of the time I will front load the week to have all my easier runs, my shorter distances, low intensity, and kind of just hope that doing all the easy runs in a row and the less intense runs right away will, give my knees some time to recover. But I will say beyond that, I do schedule my training to have down weeks, which I never used to do before. I used to just go every week is more mileage, more intensity, and you just keep going up. But it's important to have a plateau week where maybe you do the same amount of mileage as last week, or even slightly less mileage than the week before, just to give your legs some time to rest, to not get injured, I guess. Yeah. And I like to do that once a month for sure. I think that's good enough. Some people say every other week, but that's not for me. I'll do once a month. That's enough, and it's worked good so far. I'm really happy with the results I've had from my return to running and just the lessons that I've learned through this injury and the experience that came with it. But I want to share the supplements and fitness apparel that helped me with this return to running. And the links for that are down in the description because these are my go-to supplements and fitness apparel, and they're from First Form, and I just wanted to share that with you so you can get the best quality products for your training and just whatever your needs are. And thank you for making it this far in the video. If you want to keep watching, YouTube recommended this video for you. But I'll see you in the next one. Peace.